everyone, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, I am Ariana and I interview the brightest minds of physical therapy. So if you want to increase your knowledge, start right now by subscribing to this channel, clicking on the bell so you don't miss anything, give us a thumbs up and share with our friends. Today our guest is Lynn Grimm and she's going to talk about the GOATA method. Lynn is a physical therapist with 35 years of experience, she's a Mckenzie Diplomat, and she's a GOATA coach. I hope you enjoyed the show. Hi, Lynn. Welcome to PT Pro Talk. How are you today?
I'm fine. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. After all the craziness that happened in New Orleans, now we are finally able to get together.
I know, and thank you so much for your patience. I really appreciate that.
No, that's great that we are here. So tell us a little bit about yourself, your career, your background, and how did you get to where you are right now?
Okay. Well, I've been a physical therapist since 1986. And physical therapy has sure changed in those years, right? I've had experience in a lot of areas. I've gone from managing a huge department, maybe 35 therapists at a teaching hospital here in New Orleans. That was a teaching hospital for 2 medical schools. And I specialized in inpatient orthopedics, outpatient orthopedics, neonatal care, trauma, and SICU. So that was one of my favorite jobs that I had, but management really wasn't for me. I'm more of a clinician, right? I've dabbled in home health and I've dabbled in the school system. I've done all sorts of things, cardiovascular. But really, it all just boils down to, I just want to be in the clinic. So I opened my own practice in like 2011, 2012. And I've been doing that ever since. So I'm very happy with what I'm doing. Solo practice, by the way.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And so I'm just curious, I know you are a Mckenzie Diplomat, right?
Yes.
So when did you start working with Mckenzie and doing the courses and all of that?
Okay, so I was introduced to the Mckenzie Method in the 1990s, okay? And I took a Part A with Wayne Rath back in the day. And so I've used Mckenzie, or at least what I thought was Mckenzie, all those years. And I had taken a little hiatus from my practice when my husband got out of school and started working so I could take care of our children. And I was out of the field for about 15 years. But when I came back in, one thing that I remembered was how well the Mckenzie Method worked for me. So I just used what little I knew then, but right then and there, I knew I had the dream to open my own practice. And I knew if I wanted to do that, I better be the best at what I did because it's a cash-based practice. I'm out of network with insurances, don't accept insurance, that I knew that I had to go back. So I got the credentials in 2012 right away. And then I went into the diploma program. And for better or worse, it was difficult, I must say. I'm not the best student, God bless my instructors, but I earned the diploma in 2016. And it is one of the best things I've done for my career.
Awesome.
Very happy about that.
Awesome. I bet it wasn't easy.
I know.
But
I recommend it, I promise you.
It's worth it.
It's worth it. It's worth it. Yes.
And so let's talk about the GOATA now. So when did you start doing the GOATA and how did your interest start?
Okay, so I was introduced to GOATA essentially by a patient of mine who over a course of 8 months had said, hey, what do you think about what Gary is doing over there at GLS? And Gary is Gary Scheffler. He's the owner of GOATA Locomotive Systems. And it's here in the New Orleans area. And I said, well, I don't know. Who's Gary and what's GLS, right? But But, over the years, I've tried to keep up with what's going on in the community, right? I think everybody does that, especially in a private practice. If you have a patient that comes in that needs something different, then you want to be able to refer them to the right person, right? So I've always been kind of aware of what's in the community. But when this patient told me about GLS, I was like, okay, I'm going to get over there. I was very busy at the time. So I said, okay, I'll get over there. So she would come in about 3 months later every now and then and say, hey, did you go check out Gary? I said, no. Where is it again? Right? She said, oh, it's here in Marrero. I go, Marrero. Okay, yeah, right. But it wasn't until a few months later, she said, okay, Alvin Kamara was over there with some young boys that he was mentoring. And Alvin Kamara is one of our very favorite Saints players. He's a running back for the New Orleans Saints. That's an NFL team here. And he's a big deal. So I said, Alvin Kamara's over there? I guess it's time for Lynn to go see what's going on and meet Gary over there at GLS. So I called Gary on the phone and I said, hey, I'm really interested in what's going on in your gym. Can I come in? And he said, yes. And I said, well, tell me a little bit about what you do. And he said, they offer these recode packages. And what they do is an assessment on you. And then it's about 8 to 10 visits and you recode. And I was thinking, gosh, it's been a long time since I treated myself to anything, because I'm one of those therapists that, I've been to chiropractors, I've been to other PTs, I've had massages, I've done everything, right? Mostly I want to learn about who's doing what in the community, but also sometimes I want to just treat my own aches and pains. But it's been a long time since I did that. So I said, oh gosh, I want to do it. Quoted me his price. And I was like, what? This better be good because he charges way more than I do. So we set up a deal and I said, oh, by the way, I'm a PT. He goes, a PT, a physical therapist? I'm like, yes. And he goes, only 1% of you know what you're doing. The rest of you are hurting everybody. Oh. And I'm like on the phone going, wait, is he trying to sell me something or is he trying to run me off? Right? And it really took me aback. But I said, well, I kind of agree. And then I said, well, I'm the 1%, thanks to the diploma program, right? So he said, okay, you can come in. So then I said, well, I was thinking in my mind, gosh, my husband and I have been doing CrossFit together for 10 years. Right? That's our big thing. And we both loved it. And I said, oh, I wonder if my husband will come. And so I asked Gary, I said, Gary, you think I could bring my husband with me? He goes, oh, yeah. And I said, he goes, I'll make you a deal. And I'm like, okay. So I said, oh, by the way, he's an orthopedic surgeon, right? And he's credentialed in the Mckenzie Method.
Oh,
and
that's
he's
awesome.
What? Oh, between the two of you, you're killing everybody. But he let us come in. So the first visit involved a video assessment. We can go into that a little bit later. And then we got started right away. So I came in and on my third visit, he had me run across the gym floor. And I have never felt that good running in my entire life. And I'm an old girl, right? So I looked at him and I looked at where I was and I was like, I can't believe it. This guy knows what he's doing in here and I need to know what he knows. So that's how I really got introduced to GOATA, is I kind of felt it first, and we call it see it and feel it technology. But I'm a poor student, believe me. I had to go in the backwards way, and I felt it first, and then I started my journey right then and there to learn GOATA, and I've been doing it ever since.
Nice. So
yeah,
that's a different story. Always learning and looking for new things that are coming up, and just being curious and open to to see
Right.
what's going on out there.
Right. And you know, as physical therapists, there are people that walk in our office, whether they have red flags or they need a multidisciplinary intervention, right? We need to get them to the right place and get them there as soon as possible.
Yeah.
So that was kind of my goal in the beginning.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about what is GOATA.
Okay, GOATA stands for the greatest of all time actions leads to the greatest of all time actions. And really, just to quote the founder, GOATA is a simple way to have endurance, durable, connective tissue security, and explosive fluid movement. And it was movement that was discovered by watching super athletes and babies. So that's how the founder, Gilly or Jose Besh, describes it. And I think that's a pretty good definition.
So what are these movement patterns that the movement teach? You just said that you watch babies and athletes. So then by observing them, you come up with the pattern that's ideal. Like, how does it work?
Right. So if I could just backtrack a little bit, the founder, Jose Besh, we call him Gilly. He's an entrepreneur. Okay, and he has 5 businesses that are not medical, and he's not a medical person. But when he was in high school, he was diagnosed with 3 degenerative discs that apparently occurred when he had a football injury. And he went to doctors, he went to chiropractors, he went to physical therapists, and no one could seem to offer him the relief that he was looking for. He ended up in a surgeon's office who wanted to do surgery on him and also told him that he would never be able to play football again. So it crushed him. And it really put him in a kind of a deep depression, and he was young, like a young man. But he went on his own journey and did his own research on how to treat himself, right? Which is what we're specialists in. He did not find the Mckenzie Method, I have to say, which is a shame. I do think he would have had some significant help with that. But what he did find was this guy, Pete Escogeu, out in California, who has a movement system that's been very successful at the time, and he concentrates on posture and alignment and things like that. And he was the first person that actually offered him relief. So he decided as a layperson to go get certified by him. So that was his start to that. But Gilly's a sports fanatic, okay? And he watches football, he watches basketball, and he watches essentially all the sports. But when the iPhone came out, he started scraping videos off the TV because he wanted to know, why were the Drew Breeses and the Michael Jordans, why are these guys playing so long in their careers and they're not getting hurt? And here I am, a young man in my 20s, all crippled, right? Actually, he was older than that, but anyways, that's irrelevant. But when he did that, he was able to slow the video down and take a look at their movement patterns. And the one thing he noticed is he's like, I don't move like that. I don't move nearly anything that resembles that. But what he did notice is that these multi-decade super athletes all moved the same. So that kind of started the wheels spinning. Okay. He's also a National Geographic junkie, and National Geographic TV had just come on. And he was like, well, those guys are never hurt. They never get their ACLs shredded, right? And they're doing tons of walking and tons of lifting and carrying, and they're never getting hurt. So when he scraped their videos off, he realized that that population moved the same as these super athletes. Making sense so far?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Now he also compared it to how babies develop. and realized when he started studying developing babies, that their movement patterns, whether they were on the floor or walking soon, that those babies on the floor actually exhibited the same movements that these super athletes did and the indigenous tribes. And then he took it to another population, and these are the 80, 90-year-old, 100-year-old people that are still running track and field, right? And you're like, wait a minute, how are they running in their 90s when the rest of my classmates are walking around with canes and walkers, right? So that's kind of how it started, was one, just observing the movement. And then they kind of reverse engineered it, is how they said it. They kind of broke it down and saw the movement patterns that we study today.
That's
and
interesting.
They're all based on functional movements, based on development, like I say, it's our innate movement patterns, what Mother Nature gave us to start with.
Yeah. And okay, so how these athletes, because assuming that we are born this way as babies, and then our way of living, sitting and staying in positions that we're probably not meant to be, have like kind of disturbed these patterns, or have make them different than what they were supposed to be, and have these athletes kept different patterns. So what is the logic behind this? Because why most people don't have these patterns and these athletes have?
Okay, well, through MDT and through the work of Robin Mckenzie, we all know that too much slouching and too much bending, the frequency of flexion during the day, is the most common reason people say low back pain, right? Mm-hmm. And guess what's happening in our society now, right? Kids are going to school younger and younger and younger. Babies, as soon as we bring them home from the hospital, we put them in the car seat, right? The babies fall asleep in the car seat, so they're in a slouched position, which you generally start with anyways, but babies aren't even designed to be in a sitting slouch posture all day long. We put little Nike tennis shoes on day one before they leave the hospital because we want to show them off. And so they're not getting the input through their feet that they need to get, right? Because we block that with the rubber soles. So it starts there, and then the kids are going to school. We force them to sit in chairs. We get them off the floor. Back to the babies, if they're not walking by 8 months, we're encouraging them to walk, or we put them in the jumpers that make them walk. So we're forcing them to skip some of these developmental patterns that they need to go through to own this innate security pattern that we all have or should have, right? Now, when it comes to the athletes, yes, they're doing the same thing. They came home from the hospital in the same way. They went to the same schools that we all went to, but they also went to the gym. So what's happening in the gym, and this has been happening throughout my lifetime, I've been lifting weights since high school, is really the weight training hasn't changed since high school. But what it does is it encourages what we call reverse movement. Right? So it trains reverse movement patterns. When a human being moves forward through space 99% of the time, right? We move forward. We don't need the backwards movement. So when athletes are in these forward locomotive sports, football, basketball, tennis, swimming, the list goes on and on. I know I'm leaving them out. And what we're doing is training reverse movement patterns. They're trying to use these patterns to move forward in space. So something has to give. And it generally does. So if we have 500,000 ACL injuries a year, something's wrong. If we watch a football game every weekend and you see an ACL shred or an Achilles rupture in a game, something's wrong. So Gilly, in his brilliance, actually scraped these injuries, right? And we know that you can't trust the naked eye so much. When I started going to football games, if the ref called a bad call, it was too bad. There was no way. You just had to say what the ref did. But now we have slow motion video, and they go back into the booth and replay it. And then suddenly the ref can see that blatantly bad call, and they can reverse it, right? Well, the same thing goes with motion. There's stuff that we miss, but the video never lies, right? So we use slow motion video in our assessments, and I challenge everybody to do this in their Mckenzie assessment, especially the movement assessment, because I promise you, you're missing some things that you thought you saw that you didn't see. And I think I lost my train of thought, but we'll go back.
Yeah, no, that's good. I was just wondering how these athletes, they are different. Like, is that something that's natural, or are they trained, or is just their natural ability, the way that their body moves, that makes them different?
Oh, they've been in the gym and training themselves out of this innate safe movement pattern, then they're at risk for injury, and they can feel it. Now, in the GLS gym with the athletic population, they guarantee their athletes 6 to 26% increase in performance after you've gone through the recode package. And they've never had anybody ask for their money back. So if you can make it a performance enhancement like that, they're in. But honestly, these athletes can feel it right away, and they can see it right away once they know what they're looking for.
And so they are specifically trained with these patterns to try to be more efficient.
Over the years, we've gotten so caught up with how much do you bench? How much do you deadlift? How much can you back squat? Well, those are all reverse movement patterns that you need for those lifts, right? But you don't need them for your sport. So yeah, it's kind of sad to see what's going on. And I really believe that this is the answer. I feel like if everybody walked into my office, moved as the greatest of all time athletes, what we call the GOATAs, I wouldn't have a business, because there would be no non-contact injuries.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wish other people would take a look. Prove me wrong. That's what I want to say. Help me out.
And so when a patient comes to you, so how do you assess and treat them? So what is your rationale?
So I'm known for the Mckenzie Method, right? So most of my patients call and they want me to get them out of pain, right? So I always start with the Mckenzie Assessment, okay? And I want to know, is this something I can help you with or not? Now, when you have your own private practice or you have a cash-based practice, you generally have a wellness practice. So GOATA is my 100% wellness practice. So I get clients that call me from all over the country, right, that are my wellness people, but it's totally separate. But my first primary thing is, let's do the Mckenzie assessment. Let's get you out of pain as soon as possible, right? And then I can help you get into the math of GOATA, right? So GOATA is based on, yeah, we move in spirals, right? Everything in Mother Nature moves in spirals. It's all based on the golden ratio, and I don't think human movement is any different. We don't move linearly, and there's a certain math to that, and we can go down that rabbit hole another time. But if you have a derangement and you're hurting really bad, sometimes you can't get into these movements. And that goes for these super athletes too, right? Or close to super athletes. So I think my job first is to help you get out of pain. But also a main thing is, how do we prevent this from recurring, right? And I think one of the ways we can prevent it is to restore these innate movement patterns. They're so safe, for us and provide this 26% increase in athletic performance for these super guys and girls and bring it to the regular population. So I use it regularly in my office with great success.
So yeah, they get out of pain and then they go about their lives. And if they keep the same pattern, they are likely to have the same injury over and over again. So you kind of take them out of that pattern to prevent these injuries reoccurring and try to keep them moving well.
Exactly. That's exactly what I do. Mm-hmm.
And then like, do you have like, how often do you need to see them? Is there like a one-time thing? Or do you have like, you see them every month? How does it work?
No, I probably average 6 to 8 visits, whether you're a wellness client or a patient, so to speak, right? Yeah. So my first thing is, can we reduce or abolish your symptoms, right? And then can we maintain it? And then can we prevent recurrence, right? And get you back to the things that you love.
Yeah. So the GOATA method, how many visits do you need to do the assessment?
It's about the same amount.
It's about the same amount. Okay.
Right. But it's a reps game, right? So the first thing we do as a GOATA certified coach is we do the slow motion video assessment, and it's all based on functional movements that we do. We do static posture analysis. We look at standing, squatting, hinging, walking, and running, essentially. Normal movement, human movement, right? And then we look at a way that the client coils his spine. How does he transfer energy from one side to the other? We look at how the arms move. We look at where the head position is. And that's essentially what it is. And then we begin to address the issues. And in GOATA, we start from the ground up. How the feet hit the ground is most important, okay? And, you know, if you have a lateral shift when you come in, we're not starting at the feet, okay? Don't get me wrong, because it's obvious to start. So we do go for the low-hanging fruits too. But yeah, I think the two practices have really designed to work together.
Yeah, awesome. And then the patients go by themselves and do they have the same idea of like the Mckenzie, they repeat the movements like a practice?
Yes, it's a drills game. So if we're trying to create a neuro change in movement patterns, it's reps. So I give them drills that have to be repeated over and over. Right now, I don't do every 2 hours unless it's a reductive movement, but you've got to do it every day, and you've got to be aware of where your movement's going wrong. So yeah, and it's progressive too. So we've got to own some pre-movement fundamentals first, and once you own those, then we can progress you up into more athletic events.
And how do they make sure that they are performing the movements correctly?
They look at the videos. Now the super athletes are always looking at their video, right? They're just like golfers. They're addicted to it. They have to video their swings all the time, and there's a good reason for it. So the athletes will turn on their cameras and watch themselves run or watch themselves do the movements just to make sure they're doing them right. But we're also there, if you have a coach, the coach is there to show you.
Yeah. And what type of results do you see in your practice using the GOATA and combining with the Mckenzie?
So I think it's kind of taken my practice to the next level. And I want to say, if you have people that are mechanically inconclusive, that have persistent pain, central sensitivity, and they're not ready for a lot of movement, this has been the most non-threatening way to start. People always leave my office knowing exactly how I want them to walk when they leave. And I've had a lot of success with this, especially with that population.
Awesome. That's another resource that we have when we can treat them with Mckenzie when they don't don't fit.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I can get them into a graded exercise program.
Awesome.
Right. And it's non-threatening because it's walking. It's how we move. Right.
Yeah.
And they can see it. Once you video it and show them, you can see it. Because we can do a split screen. I can show you how the people that are doing it right versus how you're doing it. Okay. So it really helps with the education process.
Very good. And do you use like a special something that you record in slow motion? Do you have like any professional cameras, or
yeah,
what do you use?
I have my iPhone. And my iPad. Nothing better than that. But then I can convert it into, I use an app called Coach's Eye, and a lot of people use what's Huddle is another one. What's the new name for that? OnForm. OnForm is the new name for that, but I'm old. I can only learn so much at a time. So I'm stuck on Coach's Eye, which I know they're going to take away from me now that I know it. But what it allows me to do is slow down the movement patterns frame by frame by frame, because sometimes you get out of this good movement at a certain frame, and that's when you're at high risk for injury.
So that's simple. It's easy to have access to, so nothing too crazy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
I think everybody has a smartphone these days.
Yes, I'm sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So before we transition to our final questions, do you have anything else that you want to talk about GOATA that we haven't talked?
Oh, I know I left a whole bunch out. But I really want, there are other therapists, other Mckenzie trained therapists. Another Diplomat, Lee Poston, has adopted this in his practice as well. Scott Holmes is credentialed, and he's adopted this in his practice, and we're all having great results with it. And it's nice to have a community. So I encourage everybody to take a look at it. And let me know what you think, for better or worse. If you have any questions, call one of us. You don't have to call me, but seriously, for better or worse, I prove me wrong, right? Please.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about, right?
Yeah. So Scott Holmes, he participated here on the podcast before, and he shared with us some of the results and things that he's been seeing on his practice. It's pretty amazing.
Right. And he's one of the people I'm going to recommend to follow on Instagram or Facebook, because he posts before and after pictures that'll help you see the difference. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I follow him. I see him putting and
it's tremendous.
And
nice. when I get more time, I'm going to start doing the same thing. That's laid
So Lynn, what is your favorite resource of information? Any books or specific papers, studies that you like in particular?
Okay, so you're not going to believe this, but I learned it by feeling it first. And then I started to do my own investigations, and I started with social media. Okay, so I started with Instagram. I hate to say it, but there's a lot of information, for good or bad, out there. But there's a few people, if you're really interested in this, that I want you to follow. Okay, so I'm going to give you their little names on Instagram. But if you have any questions, like I said, contact me. But GOATA_loco. That's Coach Gill. He's the founder of GOATA. Okay, and I think he's a genius in his own right. red_pill.rick. That's Ricky. He's been an NFL quarterback, I guess, for about 4 years in the NFL. He's a master professor. He's one of my mentors. He keeps me on my toes. And he's always asking me to show the video evidence whenever I think I can one-up him. GLS_training, okay? That's Gary Scheffler's account for the GOATA Locomotive Systems, where my office is now located here. He's the one that got me involved, and I can never thank him enough. So if you're interested in training athletes, he's got a lot of great resources there. And again, I mentioned Scott Holmes, so check him out too. There's some books that I think you could read, and I'll show them to you on the video if you want, but we can go over them a little bit. But here's the original book, Powered by GOATA, written by Gilly. You can get it on Amazon. This is a good place to start. Anything that Pete Escogeu wrote, that's how to start. It's a movement system itself, but I think things to learn from that. Spinal engine theory, okay. Sergei Grafovetsky, I really butchered that one, but this is a good one. And anything that Kathleen Porter wrote, this one is The Well-Balanced Child, okay. We can even go back to our development books from PT school. And here's one that Ricky Stanzi really turned me on to, Muscles and Meridians by Philip Beach. Those are some good books you could follow. Now, as far as in the literature, no, but it is there. It's in the research right now. It's just that there's some young person interested in doing the research reviews. I promise you there's tons there. I'm just not the person to do it. I've decided I just want to be a clinician and do my best that way. But we all know that the scientific method and every research starts with observation. So I want everybody to trust their eyes to a certain point, but realize if refs can miss these huge calls, we can too. So I want you to start videoing it and slow down the movement, and then trust the video. Because if I were a lawyer, I couldn't deny a case if I had the video evidence, right?
Yeah.
So that's the way I look at it. The videos don't lie.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
Did that answer your question?
Yes, lots of books and resources. It's awesome.
And if you want to experience like recoding yourself in a do-it-yourself program, there's recode225.com. And it's a one-size-fits-all. It's kind of like the Treat Your Own Back books. Mm-hmm. Even it doesn't fit all, but it gives people something that they can do on their own. So people from all over the world are enjoying that.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you for sharing.
Sure.
And what would be the best advice you give to the clinicians that are starting their careers?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Am I old enough to give advice to younger clinicians? No, wait. Am I too old to give advice to younger clinicians?
Lots of experience. I wanted to hear from you.
Okay. So I wrote down a few things about this. Since you mentioned you might ask me this, and I'm glad you did. Physical therapy is such a broad career path, right? So when we're in PT school, we're exposed to so many things, but if a certain pathway strikes your interest, then do what you can do to be the best in that area, okay? In other words, I want you to become passionate about becoming an excellent clinician, okay? I promise you, you will never regret it, and you will never work another day in your life. But I think I wrote down, let's see, how many did I do? Maybe I had 10 total, and that's one is get passionate. One is you have to have communication skills. You have to be able to talk to the person in front of you, no matter what their cultural backgrounds are, no matter what language they speak, no matter their socioeconomic status. So you need to get good at that. You need to have empathy for your patients. Okay, and I think sometimes we're so busy, we just get away from that. Two, you've got to brush up on your clinical reasoning skills. Okay, that's key. That's key to being one of the best physical therapists. Four, I want you to attempt to be the healthiest, fittest version of yourself. Okay, understand the consequences of a sedentary lifestyle. Right? And I think we do, but I think we underestimate it, okay? But don't forget to just get out there and play, okay? We also tend to forget this the older we get, right? When you get close to retirement age like me, the first thing we say is, oh, take a rest. You don't need to do that anymore. We bought you this recliner, okay? And I think that's the worst thing you can do in retirement, right?
Yeah.
I think another good thing for new PTs is to mentor other PTs and PTAs and other people that just want to get in the field and do observation hours with you, whether they just observe or you pay them. Who knows? Those people may go to the top of the field or another field and beyond, and they may actually give you credits, you know? So wouldn't that feel good coming back around? Okay, so it also keeps you on top of your game. So believe me, I think helping other people is the way to go. Again, I want you to keep abreast of what's going on in the PT world. Believe me, we've come a long way since 1986, when we had to do hot packs, ultrasound, massage, and if we were lucky, Williams flexion exercises, you know? But I want you to keep up with PT for better or worse, but never lose your sense of curiosity, right? Although we want to stay current, I don't want to get so uber heavily focused on the research, because if you've noticed a trend in our research now, when an article comes out, oh, we're so excited. But then in the next journal, that article, the next journal article on the same subject just refutes the one you just read. Right? So I'm just like, okay. So don't forget to just, you know, trust your instincts, right? And also know, and we live in this world today where now we don't even trust the research as much as we thought we did, right? We know there's some shady researchers out there. We know it depends on what they want the research to say and who's funding them. So just, it's like I said, buyer beware, okay? Always use a scientific method. Use your eyes and test baselines. Test and retest baselines after everything that you do. Know your limitations. If it's not a PT problem, get out of your office as soon as possible. Again, I say I want you to trust your eyes, but now I want you to start watching how everybody moves, right? Observe, just step back and look at how everybody moves. Scrape a video too off the TV or the internet and slow it down and see how people move. And then I want you to think to yourself, did Mother Nature design us to become injured in our 20s, in our teens, in our 30s? No, I don't think so. And was Mother Nature wrong? And I was like, no, I don't think so. And are we too bold to say that we're better than Mother Nature? I don't think so. So I've kind of come back and I want to say, if this is how we're designed to move, maybe this is how we're supposed to move. Spend more time on the floor. You know, babies are on the floor. Babies sit on the floor is the next thing. When was the last time you sat on the floor? When is the last time your children sat on the floor? How about your grandbabies when you're my age, right? We don't see that much anymore. We have chairs designed from infancy and beyond. And I think it's more time we spend on the floor. Just think about that and try it, okay? And my last advice for newer PTs, don't do it for the income. We know there's a lot of money made out there, but you're not fooling anybody because everybody can smell a rat, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm saying, don't do it for the money, do it for the love of the thing. So hopefully that answered your question. I don't know.
It did. Lots of advice. So that's
too much advice, right?
Yeah. So I'm glad to have you here with all this experience sharing our thoughts with us.
Right. So yeah, don't hesitate to reach out to me with any questions you have, any comments, and I look forward to talking to you in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. So if people want to contact you, do you have any specific way that they can reach you?
Sure. I'm on social media. I'm on Instagram at PT. I'm on Twitter at Lynn Grimm PT. It's the same. Emails lynnGrimmPT@gmail.com. And my website is grimmt.com.
Awesome. Can you just repeat the Instagram one more time? I think you broke up a little bit.
Instagram is at Lynn Grimm
Okay.
PT.
Okay. Awesome.
So you should be able to find me there. And I'm also on the Mckenzie website and the GOATA coaching.com.
Okay, awesome. Well, Lynn, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today with our audience and share all your knowledge and your career and everything that you passed through to get to this point. And I'm sure a lot of people learn and with all your experience and knowledge.
Well, we'll
so I appreciate it. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, take care of yourself. Thanks, Mariana.